Hi, this is Natalie Lander, voice of Kinsey, Tara Branford, Stargirl, and many others. You are listening to a W2M Net podcast. You can visit W2Mnet.com for other podcasts about entertainment, video games, sports, and wrestling. You are listening to Video Games to the Max.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Video Games to the Max, number 280, if you're counting. Either way, whether this is your first one or you've been around for a lot of them, we always thank you and appreciate you listening or watching. Now you can watch us on YouTube if you're listening on the W2M Network channel. I am not here by myself, thankfully, but I am your host, Sean Garmer, and here with me, as always, Mr. Marc Morrison.
Howdy.
And this is the official video games podcast of W2Net.com, and in partnership with Last Word on Gaming. And, well, this isn't like the biggest news week because technically we would have had something, I guess, sort of big to talk about, but because it happened hours after we had already done the show, I was just like, listen, let's not do this twice in a row. Let's go ahead and record something on the Nintendo Switch parentheses OLED model. That's technically what it's called. And then I put it into the last episode. So I apologize if that episode was an extra lengthy. But just wanted to go ahead and put that in for everybody. So if you wanted to hear our thoughts on the Nintendo Switch OLED as far as like when the announcement happened, you can listen to last week's show, episode 279. And at the beginning of that show is our basically 25 minutes of Mark and I's thoughts on what we thought of the Switch OLED and whether it was worth it for you to have if you already have a Switch or if this is your newest one. Of course, now people have been able to have hands-on time with it, and it seems like not much has really changed from that idea. If you're a handheld player, you'll have a lot more to go to, but again, unless you're really needing to, which the only reason I'm thinking about is because I have that Switch model, which I can't take back to GameStop and trade in because that break in my screen makes it to where they probably won't take it. But you know, for other people, maybe it is. So, have you watched or read anything from people's thoughts on the system at all, Mark? Or
just that it was fun. Someone pointed out an hour or so ago that that Switch model is the first Nintendo system that's had a built-in Ethernet port.
Yeah, that is very true.
It's
crazy.
It's only been 20 years since that's been like a game standard and like longer for internet standard. So
yeah. It's crazy to think about that has been a thing for a while now, and Nintendo just happened to appreciate that. But again, I guess to be fair, they are making you now pay for an online service, which they didn't do in the past. So even though they really didn't do much online in the past anyway, but they're making you pay for an online service. So I mean, they feel like, okay, if we're going to do that, we really do actually need to give them a way to improve the online capability on their own. Not that, they can really do that much on their end, but at least it helps on that front. Yeah. I do like that the kickstand is actually really good and doesn't break in 2 seconds. It's actually like a big block that takes up the whole...
Now it'll take 5 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like from reading and watching that it does move around and it doesn't take much to move it. And that the OLED screen is what you'd expect. It looks brighter. It looks better. It wastes a little bit less battery. All that stuff. I also have a launch like day one Switch, so I don't get the battery life improvements that you get with the that updated Switch model, and the Switch Lite, and all that stuff. So that's something that makes me think about it as well. But I'm also thinking about whether I just want to get a Switch Lite because I play handheld and it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, but if you have an original Switch, that means you can hack it pretty easily. So that's nice.
that's nice on that end too, I guess. But
it's nice that they're selling the dock separately as well.
Yes, that is nice because that dock looks a lot nicer than the original dock. That actually makes it look like something nice that you could put next to your other systems if you have other ones. Whereas the other one looks like a plastic toy.
Yep.
Really, and it's crazy that they charge $90 for that thing.
Yeah, and it's essentially like 80% hollow, and it has like
exactly
a very basic circuit board, and that's about it.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything that should really like go, oh my god, we should really go after that thing. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, regardless, you're probably already decided after you saw it whether you're going to go after that or not. And we talked about it, for a good while on last week's show, so I don't want to belabor the point. But yeah, I mean, have you been playing anything?
Mark, I'm still banging away at Nocturne.
I thought you said you had finished it.
No, I said I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to get the 100% Demon Compendium, like the Persona thing.
Okay.
I'm at like 85 right now. It just takes a while to grind out like money, and then the system, like, it's better than it was, but it's still not 100% great. Beat Timespinner. I got like the first ending. I can go back to it to get more stuff later on. I picked up Metroid Zero Mission for the GBA.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't. I think I like Fusion a lot more, and it's funny because Fusion is like a much more linear game than Zero Mission. Like that's the game that tells you directly, like, "Hey, go here." It's not. I mean, you can screw around and do optional stuff, but it's like it literally like draws you a line map saying, "Go here."
I mean, that's helpful that it at least does that. So.
Well, it got criticized at the time for like, oh, it's not like a Metroid game, or it's too simplistic, or it's like, that's fine. I mean, this game I'm a little lost occasionally. I have to keep looking up a guide, like, where do I go now, or like, what did I miss something, or something
you couldn't necessarily do at the time when the game came out, but you could do that now. Which is nice.
But the last thing is I've been playing It Takes Two with Jens.
How is that?
It's okay. He likes it a lot more than I do. Like, I think it's pretty well made. But it's like, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or
a
whole bunch of. I mean, it's derivative in a sense. It's not in a bad way, but it's like a Pixar movie with like mixed with like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or something like that. But yeah, it's pretty good. You have to like get 4 pieces of this letter, and you got like the first piece. I think it's funny because like the 2 main characters are like horrible people.
You really think that they're horrible people? Like,
the dad is kind of this like a selfish jerk, and like the mom is like completely disinterested. So,
I mean, right? Like they're trying to prove a point of that. Like they've gotten to that point where they're thinking about divorce, right? So you're not the greatest person at that point, So sometimes it does take one of these being able to go through these moments of, hey, we really had to show that we really care to be able to say. Or really to like get to that point of like really make an effort. We had to make an effort to show that we care, about each other. So,
we just spent. We did like one section where we had to climb this tower, with like a pretty bad camera angle, and he bought the game, so I'm only playing with the guest pass. So he's the one getting the trophies, and he had to spend like 20 minutes trying to climb this tower, which I thought was funny.
Yeah, that's got to be funny to go through, of like, just, hey, there's that. I mean,
I climbed it. I was just waiting. I was waiting on the top for him for like 10 more minutes after I did it. I could just hear him getting more and more pissed. But yeah, other than that,
I mean, how is does the story feel any different being friends and not necessarily being, I guess the intention of the game, or?
I mean, not really. I mean, we're just kind of kind of going through it. It's like I said, it's pretty decent, but yeah, some it's a little janky in spots. I don't know, like if it's like the online or what, but like I'll see his character like, kind of warping around occasionally, or I'll do the same like on his screen, and it's like this doesn't look natural at all. Like,
yeah, I mean you're bound to do it.
Yeah,
with that happening, with like there being split screen and all as well,
right?
So.
And it's long too. Like yeah.
I mean that's good too. At least you're getting, for it being a budget title as well. It's not the full $60. That's pretty good that you're getting that length for those people that measure that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What about you?
For me, I finally
now.
Yes, I finally beat Chicory. So I did the outline for the review. Now I have to actually write the review, which that's going to be difficult for me because that game gave me a lot of different. It gave me so many feelings. As I think I mentioned the last show, it's just. I said that you can feel like it's going to go there, and it really did go there. And it made me think about, what I've gone through, and like, I love the juxtaposition of you have these cute animal characters, and then it just makes you feel something different than just, I think you could possibly feel the same with human characters, but there's just something about having these characters and what the brush means and what that means for what all these different wielders go through, and you're experiencing that as the main character as well. And like the different themes, there are several different themes and messages in that game. And I like the fact that if, you just, it sets up this facade of just being this coloring book of this, I get to paint the world and all this stuff the way I want, and then there's just such a great story and great writing in it that I think really sets it apart for it's my game of the year so far. Puts it above East that I said when we did this, because I hadn't really gotten through Chicory at that point. But man, like it's gonna be hard. The way that I felt after I starting to get to the end of that game, and then the way I felt at the end, it's going to get difficult for me for it to match, for games after this to match that for me. I mean, unless, obviously I haven't gotten to play the big PS5 releases yet.
Yeah.
If there's a sale on those at some point.
I actually did pick up Ratchet and Clank, but I haven't played it yet.
Okay, you haven't played it yet?
I know I haven't played it because like I still have like at least one game to review. So
yeah,
I know like that game will devour my time.
Yeah, I totally get you on that.
I got it for $25, which isn't bad.
No, definitely not. And I finally because I finished that, I said, look, I'm not going to go and try to start writing this review at like 10 o'clock at night. So I'm going to just reward myself and finally get into Scarlet Nexus. I made it past the point that you do in the demo with Kasane. I'm not doing both at the same time because I don't have time. I'm technically like 2 weeks behind when the game came out at this point. So I don't have time to be going trying to play as the male UTO character and play as Kasane at the same time to get. I know you don't get the story necessarily unless you play with both, but you get the gist of it. And I'm supposed to be writing a review. I'm not trying to play this to completion either, but not completion and not trying to finish the game. I mean completion, like getting a platinum or whatever.
Yeah.
So like the story is told in like visual novel type thing. So as much as you would think that it's an anime game, and a lot of the anime games that were released the same from Bandai Namco, it's you see the characters on screen. They don't. That anime part of it, you don't really notice that much because you're seeing a lot of those characters. They really went for, we want to keep the anime aesthetic, and I think the only way they really could with the story parts is they had to sort of make it like visual novel where you see them talking. So it's almost like, those old Atelier games or any of those games where they like superimpose the character on the screen while they talk.
Yeah,
it's
called lack of a budget.
Yeah. So they did that, and then that's how they tell the story is just it's these like just still images, the mouse move and everything, and then they move the images around when they have the next person talk or whatnot. It still looks cool, but it doesn't look as good as it would if they're just on camera talking to each other like you see in most games nowadays. So that can bother you if you don't like visual novels at all. I think that might bother folks that don't want the story told that way. And then there's also the extra part of having to read like these messages that get sent with each other with the brain talk that you do. So there's not just the story that's going on. There's also story bits that are in there that you have to read. But as far as the combat goes, I think I talked about this when we did the demo. It's the same. It's not any different playing the full game. Kasane is the quote unquote ranged character. She's not really that ranged. You almost have to be in melee distance to range attack with her. So it's not like using a mage or something. It's just like a little bit farther away than Yutio with his sword and everything. So that's a bit misleading, I feel like. I do like the psychokinesis powers and all that stuff. Like I like the different. There's a spirit grid basically. They call it a brain map in this thing, and it's pretty intuitive. Like you learn moves pretty quickly. So there's that at least. I feel like I think this is gonna like the combat is gonna carry you through. If you really like the combat, because they change, you can decide which characters you want with you during a certain mission. So if you get tired of the certain characters like that you can share their moves with, aside from obviously having to have certain moves for whatever you're facing, you can switch them out. So that's good too. You're not forced to play with the same party over and over. You do have different versions of the party that you can customize, and you can customize like the whole party. It's not just Kasane the character. So I did appreciate that from the looks of it, but the environments aren't the best, I will say. There is a world map that you can move around in, and there is like side quests and stuff like that, but so far the combat's really keeping me through, and I feel like I'm just kind of at the beginning of the story, so I can't really say much about how that's making me feel or anything. But I think that's really just going to depend on. I do appreciate them trying to do a new IP and not basing it off an anime that they already have. And of course, they've made this into an anime itself. So that's
it's like
that's
the funny part.
Yeah, it is the funny part of it. But I feel like an anime for this would actually work fine. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Honestly, I still got a lot more to play, but I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah,
and that's kind of. I played some of the Monster Hunter Stories 2 demo. It's interesting. I just don't. I'm kind of glad I didn't wind up getting the code. They told me no on a code. I tried to get it from 4-on-1 as well, and I don't know if somebody asked for it or Adam was getting it for himself, but he had told me that it had already been spoken for. But either way, I'm kind of glad I didn't, because that game apparently is like 50, 60 hours.
I grabbed it.
Oh, you grabbed it. Okay,
no, I'm kidding.
I'm like, I mean, that's fine, but like, woof. I don't. After I found out that game was like that long, I was like, I think I'm kind of happy I didn't, because I don't need a big game right now. When I'm trying to finish this, and then there's gonna be a game I'm kind of interested in coming to Game Pass in like a week. So it's like I actually worked out on that, but I did play the demo, and I did like it. It's your JRPG. You get to collect monsters like Pokemon, and and you can walk around and collect treasures, and there's a map, and you do that, and then the battles are turn-based, so that's even more because I like turn-based stuff. And it has the Fire Emblem system of the rock paper scissors, like this technical beats power, power beats this, speed beats this, and they kind of alternate all three. So there's that system too, and there's apparently a lot of different things have been added from the first game. So if you really liked Monster Hunter Stories 1, I think 2 you'll definitely enjoy. There's just a lot more of it and a lot more to do. So that would be one of those things I definitely pick up on a sale and play it a lot more. But as far as like full price, like right now I just don't have the time for a big game like that. But I think if you're a JRPG person and you like Monster Hunter at all or Pokemon kind of at all, I think that might be one to look at. And it is available on PC as well. You're not stuck on just the Switch version. If you're one of those people that I think the Switch is great for that kind of thing because it's a long game and you can kind of get in and out of it. If you're one of those who likes to play stuff at your PC with, I guess, better graphics, you can do that as well on there. So, yeah, that's it for me as far as playing things. So let's move it along to a story that happened this morning, basically, or well, I guess yesterday morning at this point. And it was kind of interesting because we've had this debate, right? We had this debate before when they had announced Lost Judgment coming to PS5, Xbox Series, and then they said there's a Stadia version, but not PC when Sega has been doing all this stuff with PC, right? And wow, like, why not? And then we kind of now have an answer as to why not. And it has to do with a Japanese thing. What would you know? Their talent agency. Apparently, this is not the only thing that suffers. Sega's not the only one suffering from this. Apparently, the talent agency called Johnny and Associates blocks anyone that they work with from having a presence online. So I don't know if you've seen this or not, Mark, but there are pictures that make it to where there are pictures of even from Judgment from past that show a whole lot of people that were involved in the game. And then there's a gray body where Takuya Kimura's person should be.
Yeah.
It's weird, right? Like, you think that we're beyond this kind of thing at this point.
Well, if I read the article or read some of the report, and it basically sounds like the company is like not with the internet, or like doesn't understand what the internet is or what computers are. Mm-hmm. It sounds like the guy himself wants to keep doing it. Like he's not like, I think they said like, oh, he's a fan of gaming, so it's like I'm sure he has enough power or influence to say, hey, no, put the game on Steam,
or maybe he doesn't. You don't. I mean,
well, if that's the case,
sure
he can just.
That.
I mean, yeah, he can just wait till his contract is over and then say peace. Like.
Yeah, but how long is his contract? We don't know if he was doing something else with the company, right? Like, and then he kind of lucked into this. I mean, I'm sure that they didn't expect that the first Judgment game was gonna do well enough to where they're gonna start.
Oh, that they had. I mean, after all the Yakuza games, they kind of had to.
What? No, but what I'm saying is, I'm sure that it's good that they did make the switch, right? They made the change. What I'm saying is, like, they didn't expect it to actually do well enough for them at the beginning. You don't expect it to do well enough to where, oh, it's going to have a sequel, right? And then for them to come out and say, oh, this is going to be our entire action franchise now. Yakuza Like a Dragon did well enough that we're going to keep that JRPG because that's our new protagonist and that's what we're going to do. So, like, they're counting on this to keep those original Yakuza fans satiated. Yeah. And, like, then to all of a sudden feel like, oh, we might have to cancel this because of Kimura not being able to be involved as far as the PC version. But I think the interesting thing, too, is, Mark, like, Sega recently decided that PC was important. Obviously, it helps that Persona 4 is selling well and Yakuza is selling well, and then Yakuza being on Game Pass on both PC and Xbox and all that. Like, what do you think this says about like Sega having a standoff about one version of the game? We're not talking about like this affecting all the versions. This is just PC.
Yeah.
Like,
they're probably afraid of someone. I could see them being afraid of like, oh, they got the model of the character easily accessible. Like it's not like 100%.
Yeah, they don't want them to mod.
On,
they don't want them to mod.
Yeah, secure on like a PS4. But I mean, probably afraid of like some like imaginary nude model. Like you remember that Between Two Souls game or
Beyond Two Souls? Yeah,
Beyond Two Souls. Yeah, like the nude Ellen Page or whatever. Or they're afraid of like replacing the character with like Thomas the Tank Engine or something.
I don't know if that's what it is, but I think it's also that he does have a history of being with a pop group in the past.
Yeah,
and I don't think that they want.
Well, he's like the only member still with that group, or was still with that like talent agency because everyone else like left.
Right, but what I'm saying is like he does have a history of that, so you can imagine that as soon as, especially somebody outside of Japan or even in Japan, realizes that, oh, that's the same person, there's going to be somebody making a mod with that.
Yeah.
Just to troll and then to be able, and then to put that on the internet, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So like, get ready because
they'll replace his mod with Lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil Village.
They could do even that. I think they just don't want to deal with that. And just the company in general, like I said, they do this with everybody. It's not just, oh, they don't want a PC game. It's they don't want almost anyone in that agency to have an online presence at all.
Yeah,
like I said,
like I said, like they're stuck in like the 50s or something. It's like
it's just so weird. It's like Japan is a technology company, or it's country. Like you have to have an online. I mean, not necessarily in Japan itself, but like you really just have to have an online presence. Period. I mean, that's just way part of you do part of marketing now. Like if you don't have any kind of online presence, like there's something that you're missing out on. And it's weird that that's the route that they go on of like, you have an entire picture of people and then like, oh, we're just going to use this gray body. You can't see them at all. That's just weird. Like, it's just really weird.
Well, it's like there are some celebrities who don't like do like, social media.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But like they don't like close themselves off completely.
Yeah. They don't say, okay,
media.
You can't post a picture of me.
Yeah,
with you at all. Like you are not allowed to post me at all in anything. That's weird. That's just like, okay, we're stuck in a different time. But again, this is a legal thing that I feel like at some point it's going to get worked out because or
they'll kill the character off in this game and make it.
Yeah, do you think that they would do that? Like kill the character off just to keep the game going, or would they seriously consider ending Judgment and saying, look, if you're not going to work with us on a PC version, won't do this game anymore?
I mean, I think it might be too important of a franchise for them to cancel it completely. So they either work it out not with that guy, because like I said, the guy's fine, or the guy sounds excited to do it. Work it out with that company, or I hate to say it, kill off that character. Or
I'd hate to see it because I think he does a great job as the character.
Yeah, and then if he leaves, I mean, they could quote unquote kill him off, let's say that, and then if they ever leaves that company and he still wants to do it, they could resurrect him and say, oh, I faked my death, or something like that, and they could have like a new person for like the next 2 games or like next game or 2.
Yeah, definitely they could. So that's the thing, is just we'll see what happens with this, but man, there's a lot of this. I don't think that they would get to the point of killing off the game, but I wonder if they would just be like, you know what, this is not worth it. It seems, I wonder if there's like a money thing involved in this. Like, can we just pay them to just accept it and move on? Maybe not, because they're also getting royalties off the other versions. So like, how much would the agency suffer if they don't have a PC version or not? So there's a lot to this, but it's a funny story. It's a weird story of just like sometimes you forget that Japan's just different, but we also shouldn't say that this is everybody. This is just one agency that we know of that does this, and they just happen to be involved in games, so it kind of crosses with us. There could be more agencies that do this, and they just don't get talked about because they're not in that same realm that we're in right now talking about this. Maybe in the idol industry or in anime, this is a bigger thing, and you see this more. But
well, it's like in that, it's like they have like agencies have like control of their lives essentially. So
yeah, oh yeah, especially the idols. My God, that's a lot of the complaint is that they don't really get to have a life, and that's why a lot of them leave.
Yeah,
that. So, but moving on from whether judgment is lost to another controversy that's been was a thing last week with the director's cut and Ghost of Tsushima and whether you should pay for an upgrade. EA decided, because again, it has to be that company away from the big boys, it has to be that third party and that American company, right? Of like, oh, you think that's a controversy? Wait until you find out that you can't upgrade from PS4 to PS5. Not 10, not 20, not 30, $40.
Yep.
You're almost paying for the whole entire game again to buy it on PS4 or Xbox One and then get the upgrade to the current gen if you don't have a current gen system yet. Like, I wonder how many people are not going to even know that this is a thing. And then when they try to upgrade, find out it's not free and get really frustrated.
Well, the counter to that will be, hey, wait 6 months and the game will be $20 in a storefront anyway. So,
oh, I bet they hold out on that.
I bet they hold out on that until
on the Ultimate Edition or whatever.
No, I meant like if you already have the PS4 version and you want to get the PS5 one, I meant like that's what I meant. Like, wait 6 to 9 months when it's they're gonna start discounting it to hell because the new one's gonna come out. So.
Right, but let's say that you get your PS5 or Xbox Series pretty quickly.
That's not going to happen.
After that game comes out, there's still people getting Xbox Series X's and PS5s. I see it on Twitter every day. There's somebody new that has one. So there's people getting them. It's not like it's not happening. So let's say it did happen. I'm just saying there's a lot of people that are going to think that they can pop it right into their PS5 or Series system and go, wait, I can't upgrade this without paying $40? Wow. Like that is crazy. I know there's people that are going to do it, but if there's ever a time to be outraged, it would be for what they're doing with FIFA. It's crazy to me. Like, it's one thing to let's say, okay, we're gonna charge 20, or something like that. Like, but man, $40? Like, what are you doing, EA?
What they should do is change the price of the PS5 and Xbox Series X versions to $100. No regular version, period. You can only buy the ultimate version for PS5 and the Xbox.
I'm almost surprised they didn't do something like that. Like, just be like, well,
come on, man. It's going to be $40 worth of new experiences.
They might as well not even have done an upgrade path. They might as well have kept them separate at that point. Like, I know 2K charged, what was it, like 20? I think it was.
Maybe. I thought it was 10, but okay. Maybe 20.
I think it might have been 10. But this is well into,
scam.
This is well into a different. We're almost getting to the point where, okay, the next one. Well, the next one will still come out for Xbox One, but by the time we get to the next one, FIFA, there will be a lot more PS5s and Xbox Ones in the world out there. And this, I guess they're just saying, well, this is our one shot to take advantage of this. So we might as well put it out there and see how many people go for it. How many people would just buy the Ultimate Edition so they don't have to worry about when this comes or not.
This is our last chance to gouge the customer this way. So
yes. I don't know. This is my thing with like I think I was fine with Ghost. I was fine with Ghost because you're getting stuff, right? Like you're getting a whole new,
that it's also not an annualized game. It's
right.
It's also like a fresh experience.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, let's see if I can figure out what's in this Ultimate Edition that makes it better. Than the fact,
it'll probably have like here's 10 ultra rare card packs for you to unlock or for you to open and play the slot machine with, or you can get a super rare edition of Pele or something like that.
So here's what is in this for just to like, let's do it, right? Okay, you get the 4 days of early access, which that's worth it to a lot of people if you want to play early or whatever, right? Yeah. And then as thank you, Randy, for watching while we're doing this live. Of course, for Randy, it is like 11 o'clock at night. But still appreciate you taking your time. And he's saying that basically we paid full price for upgrades last gen. It's FIFA. They know people are going to pay for it. Oh yeah, you're right about that. They know people are going to pay for it.
They should try to do this with the WWE game when they put that out. Here's a $40 upgrade pass to go from
the old one
to the new one.
Too bad. I think they've been burned so much now that they can't do that. If the games were good enough, like FIFA has been,
yeah.
Even though it's funny that the PC version apparently it's not going to have any of the PS5 or series upgrades, which is also weird. So like here's the rest of it. Okay, you get that 4 days early access. You get once to watch player. This is all like Ultimate Team kind of stuff. Aside from the upgrade, you get 4,600 FIFA points. Team of the Week, 1 player item. Kylian Mbappe is like lone item. Another Ultimate grown, and then you get a career mode homegrown talent. Like I don't know.
Like that's what I said. Nothing. Yeah. I mean, it's all like the slot machine crap, or
Yeah, so like if you don't have EA Play, which you already get the trials for this, I guess maybe they took the trial away for EA Play, or I don't know if that involves this or not. But like, there ain't a whole lot here, other than the fact that you also get the hypermotion technology, which I think is not in the PS4 version. It's only in the.
That sounds like the Madden Truck Stick 2.0 to me.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Buzzword with slightly new animation system.
Yeah. It's funny. It's just funny to me of like, that's what we're going for. But it's EA. We shouldn't be too surprised. And like, just understand that I guess for the EA folks, for the people that are like big fans of this, well,
isn't FIFA still like their number one franchise?
It's a thing on between Madden or FIFA, but either way, it's a sports game that's their big franchise. So it's interesting. It's just an interesting thing of like, this is where we're going. We're like, let's just explode this open. I hope nobody else takes this route. I really hope not. I hope Activision doesn't go this route, even though they really could with Call of Duty, because it's Call of Duty and they can.
Well, they did that already, but it was only $10, which is completely fine. I mean,
yeah, but that's the last gen, right? Like that's the game from before. We're talking about like when Vanguard comes out, they could do this.
Well, but I meant like Black Ops or Cold War. Sorry, they did that like the $10 thing, which is I mean, if you care about that stuff, sure, $10 is like I think acceptable, but not $40, especially for essentially a new animation system, and that's about it. It's not like the game isn't going to look worlds better.
No, definitely not. But I mean, you know this if you're a sports gamer at all. Like, you know that there's only certain things that they're going to be able to improve on, and then, you know,
Especially since it's built on like old technology. It's not like like I said, the PS5 version isn't some like radical departure. Like,
yeah, no, definitely. But I mean, that's the thing is just before belaboring this point here, you know what it is with EA at this point. So just get ready and get ready to shell out that money. That's what this is right now. But yeah, so moving along to a state of play. Let's talk about a little bit about the state of play. I'm not going to go over everything, even though a lot of what they announced as state of play.
There wasn't that much to go over. So
yeah, there wasn't. I think a whole lot to really get on about. I really, really am happy that there is a Moss 2. Even though I don't have my PSVR anymore, it is still, along with Astrobot, one of my favorite games that I got to try on the PSVR before. And it is it was a cool experience, and it was new. I liked Quill as a character, so the fact that they're making a second one and they kind of tease that they're probably using PSVR 2 for this, but they didn't want to really talk about it. But they also mentioned that they're still doing stuff with PSVR 1 for this. So it's probably one of those that's going to come out on both.
Hopefully it won't be a $40 upgrade.
Well, with Sony, it may make you upgrade at least $10. So maybe it's going to be who knows? Maybe it's a pack in. Like maybe it comes.
I doubt that, but
you think they would do that? I mean, they eventually did it. Obviously, PS4 was old at that point.
Yeah, they did it when it was already 2 years out. You know.
Did they? Well, did they show a release date?
No, I don't think so.
Right for that, no. So they could.
I can see it being a launch game, but not a pack-in.
Yeah. You don't think they would? Well, maybe if they. No, I meant not necessarily a pack-in, but that extra where you pay the extra, let's say $20, $30.
Yeah.
And that's one of the games that's with it. They could do that.
Yeah.
What wasn't it? The one that we got. It was obviously a Black Friday sale or whatever. The Astrobot and Moss one was.
No, I got
discounted.
I got the Beat Saber and
okay, you got the Beat
Borderlands 2 one, but yeah.
Still one of the games I really wish I could play is Beat Saber. I love that kind of game, and I can't.
Well, just get an Oculus Quest and
then doing having to do all that.
At least that's nice because it's a self-contained unit, though. So,
yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of this stuff that we know doesn't interest us, so we're not going to talk about it. And they showed off that Tribes of Midgard game again for I don't know what is this, the 20th time that it's been shown in that event. I will say you didn't put it on here, but that Fist Forged in Shadow Torch looks interesting with the rabbit.
Yeah.
You didn't think anything of it? It's a Metroidvania.
I have enough of those. I have Metroid right now, so.
Okay, well, I don't know. You're
I mean, I'll probably play it or get it, but I put the three that were the three things that seemed somewhat important from that thing, and one of them wasn't Death Stranding Director's Cut.
Well, if you're watching on video, that's what I'm showing here is the Death Stranding Director's Cut. But we'll get. Yeah, I mean, we know how we both feel about the the Director's Cut.
I think I saw Kojima. He did an article or an interview today saying it shouldn't be called Director's Cut because my original vision was it wasn't watered down at all.
Yeah,
maybe it should have been You could have used a good editor, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been good for him, but like,
Then again, if you get more virtual Conan O'Brien, it might be all right.
I guess.
And yeah, Deathloop still looks terrible. It looks increasingly bad. Like that's the funniest part. Every time they show that game, aside from like the first trailer, it has looked worse and worse.
I don't think it looks bad. It's just one of those like I'm kind of like Randy.
It doesn't like from a gameplay perspective, it doesn't look bad per se.
Yeah,
but it's just the sense of humor and like that looks terrible. Yeah. It looks like Borderlands, or it sounds like a Borderlands game. And it's like
the constant chatter and
like you idiots. I want less of this, not more. Like,
yeah, I get that point. I still think the game, as far as the game goes, and like having, as far as the game goes, of course, Randy has to remind us that Death Stranding was our game of the year of 2019. But I mean, I will say the visuals look great for this, and I like all the extra stuff, like being able to catapult the cargo and the little bot and the like racing stuff, like that looks interesting. The freaking like the motorcycle stuff, like all that stuff looks cool. I don't know that I'm going to go out and buy this at all. I didn't really have. I think they said it was
like a $10 upgrade for Death Stranding.
Yeah, it is. It's only and it's $50. It's not even like 60 or 70. So. But I think like looking at this state of play, in general.
Your game got delayed. That Sifu game, or
yes, man, I'm upset, but I'm glad that they are taking the time to take all the time you need. Again, I've said this a million times. This is a theme we're going to see. We've seen it already. Of games are going to get delayed. They don't want to be Cyberpunk, even though it's amazing that Cyberpunk is the highest selling game on the PS4 download charts again. So
now it's like infamous. They want to see how bad it really is, or see.
I think it also shows there's so many people that don't care about gaming podcasts, don't care about gaming insiders, don't care about nothing. They just know they got taken off the store, and now it's on there again, and be like, I can play this again now.
That's what I meant by infamous. Yeah, like.
Yeah, like, and that's the funny thing.
If they cared about that, they could have got a used copy for $15.
That's the funny thing is like, this is PS. They tell you on the thing when you buy it, it says don't buy the PS4 version, and they're still buying it. Now, of course, like we don't know if this only includes sales or is this people like replaying. Does this include replays of people that like maybe took it off their system and then re-downloaded it again? Like, I don't know. But if this is just new sales, it's incredible that you got all these new sales just from it being on the store again, and they don't want you to play it on that system. So
it's probably that. They're not, like I said, or like morbid curiosity, or like, I mean, there ain't a ton.
But we're still talking about $60 game here. It's not like they're selling it for a sale.
Yeah, but it's also like there's not a ton of new shit out there right now. So
that's true too. I mean, if you already played Ratchet, and Clank, and Returnal for your PS5, I mean, and you don't really have an interest in. Well, Ghost is still like a month away. If you have an interest in playing that again, like, yeah, that's it. You are kind of in a void right now of like,
there ain't no Skyrim PS5 version coming anytime soon. So.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll actually release that for PS5. And
no, I think if they ever did it'd be like, oh, it's just like the PS4 version in a PS5 box, because they even did that they're doing that with Doom Eternal right now. They're not upgrading it to the PS5.
But I do agree with what Randy said, and again, if you're watching on video, he's watching us live, so he's. He had this to say about the state of play. He said, state of play shows that Sony doesn't care about E3 anymore and will continue to spread everything out. And sadly, Deathloop still doesn't look like a game for me at all. So he, the Deathloop stuff, I kind of cut it off when I got to halfway through that because I was like, I've seen enough of this game. It's a game that I'll play whenever it comes to Game Pass, whenever the time exclusivity ends. I'm not buying it. I'm not the biggest rogue. It is a roguelike or rogue game. You have to repeat it if you die.
Isn't it also multiplayer only, or is there a single player?
No, it's single player.
Okay.
You can have
the other character be
I forgot her name. The female character be played by an actual person if you want.
That was like the last trailer I saw where it's like, you can, it's like player versus player, and I was just like, so is there no single player or what? But I guess there is.
Yeah, I mean the gunplay looks good. Like, that's stuff that we know Bethesda is going to be good at, and they've been doing that well. I'm surprised you didn't like that Jet Far Shore game because it's kind of like No Man's Sky a little bit.
Yeah, but No Man's Sky, look at that painful birth.
Yeah, I mean this definitely doesn't have the. They don't have some of the. It has some of the exploratory aspects of it, but it doesn't have any. It's nothing about combat. It's all about kind of like being a relaxing game that they want you to explore all these different planets and everything else. I mean, I could see some people getting into that, but it's definitely one of those like niche things. I will say I like the Demon Slayer gameplay, and I was surprised that Sega's making it because normally Bandai Namco is the one that makes all the anime games. So
no, because like Sega made that Fist of the North Star game.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like they also have that. That also has that connection to the Ryuga Gotoku studio as well. I'm like, it's cool. Demon Slayer's getting made by them, and it looks really good. So I will say that, and it's going to be on current gen systems as well. So that was one of the.
That'll have a PC version.
Yeah, that'll have a PC version for sure. That doesn't have a problem like Judgment. So. Yeah, I think overall, this is also, I think, a good thing if they're going to have another, like a bigger Sony thing. I don't know if they're going to have their own event, but if they have like a bigger thing planned for later on in the year, I think it's a better way to get these kind of games that maybe wouldn't have gotten a lot of attention. Really weird that you would have picked Sifu to just announce a delay there. But again, every time they keep showing that game, it just makes you go, man, I want to play this game like right now. That's why I was like upset that they delayed it. But again, you want them to take their time. And if it's early 2022, then it just makes 2022 that more amazing. Like, oh my God, all these games are going to come out in that year. If most of them come out, we're talking about 2020 all over again with the amount of amazing games. So it's cool when you can have more years like that than what we're experiencing in 2021, where like so many delays are happening at this point. So, but like, this is something that I know is a little bit near and dear for you as somebody that plays you play all the Assassin's Creeds. You have reviewed every single one of the RPG Assassin's Creeds for the site. As much as you don't like the fact that you were the one that had to review that, obviously, because you didn't really necessarily always like all of them.
I like the last one. Last one was fine because it was shorter.
Yeah, that was a plus for sure. Sure for you. Then what, Odyssey was the one that was really bloated?
Yeah. I mean, Origin was big also, but Odyssey was like, that was the one that took the cake.
But Origin really felt like, okay, we're starting this.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're we're kind of getting going with this.
I think Origin had like 16 different like subsections or like, zones on the map. And Odyssey had like 30 or 32 or something. And it's like, dear God.
And I apologize if you're watching on video. I'm using a trailer here because we don't have our own gameplay. And I don't want to use somebody else's gameplay. So, but the whole point is you've probably seen Valhalla at this point anyway. But the whole story that we should probably get to, of course, Jason Schreier, known for his things over at Bloomberg, kind of put this out in conjunction with Ubisoft. They also had to again acknowledge the bad part of this, which is Ubisoft HR is just terrible. They did not remove a lot of the people that they should have removed from the previous regime that caused a lot of the problems with the studio, which really sucks. And I hate that. Not that we have to bring it up because this stuff should always be brought up, but that it's like almost the secondary thing that's being brought up along while we are talking about this new thing that Ubisoft is doing with Assassin's Creed Infinity, which is basically taking Assassin's Creed and putting it into a live service realm. Like, so as the person that loves Assassin's Creed here, how do you feel about this going that way?
It's going to be awful.
You think it's going to use automatically? It's going to be awful.
I think it might be interesting from like if you play like the same family tree, or it's like, okay, you're playing as this guy from the 1700s, and then the next season you might play as his son, and it'd be like 1750s or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had multiplayer before in that franchise also, which is kind of interesting, but that went away. Like,
right.
This sounds like whole new kind of experiences or like whole new sections. And it's like, I'm not really sure how you price that out well. Like, if you're just going to buy like, oh, here's another $60 add-on. Like, here's, you're playing in Germany in 1800 or something like that, or, Japan in 1600, I don't know how you do that from like a lore perspective or story perspective, because like, how do you have the present day storyline keep continuing?
Yeah.
It just sounds awful. And it sounds awful it sounds bad just from a story perspective, but also just like those games are big enough. You don't need to make them infinite.
Yeah. I mean, so we should talk about that, right? These games, that means that we could see these games get even bigger, and you're uniting two of the two main studios that keep trading off, right? Montreal and Quebec. And then there are people that were already getting upset at the studio that these games were getting overblown. And
didn't you post that graph, or like the graph? They showed that graph of like completion, or time to beat the game and then time to like completion.
Yeah.
Or and I think Odyssey was like the one that was like 120 hours, something crazy like that. And it's like,
well, Valhalla was very long as well.
Yeah, but you can, I mean, that's long, but at least it's like slightly more manageable. Yeah.
Okay.
Valhalla's completionist 132 and Odyssey was like 136.
Right, but like, Valhalla to complete the story is 56 compared to 43 for Odyssey.
That's like the weird thing, because I thought Valhalla was like a lot quicker.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe because you were enjoying it more, it felt quicker.
Well, I mean, I may have been more side crapping like Odyssey than I needed to, but in Odyssey, you have to, in both games, you have to. Well, that's the weird thing. How do you define the main story? Because at least in Odyssey and Valhalla, there were at least 2 or 3 different main stories, like main plots going through. So, like the Odyssey had like the evil cult. That was like that was like the longest one to actually complete. There was like the mythical animals. They like beat a Medusa and other crap like that. There was like the brother one, or your sibling one.
Yeah,
I guess they'd probably consider that like the main one, but like they're all kind of intertwined.
Yeah,
like you have like main quest, so it's just really weird how they differentiate it. But yeah, these games don't need to be JRPG long,
No, they don't. I mean, I agree with you there. They don't.
And like,
but they were already going that route anyway. They were already RPGs. Like that's what they're trying to do with them. So
yeah, but like look at the last one is like the last quote unquote I would say traditional one is Syndicate. That was like 20 hours to complete the story and about 55 to like complete it like all the way through. That's fine for like a $60 or $70 game. That is A-okay, you know?
Okay, so Randy asks, would it be better AC as big as Origins if it was in chunks, but each chunk was $10 compared to $60 for the full thing? As someone who hasn't played an AC since the PS3, I don't know how it would work.
See, maybe, but like the game doesn't like. It's not like things change. You're just doing the same shit in like hour 5 is an hour 55 or hour 500. Like it's not like the game gets dramatically harder or different. So, I mean, yeah, I beat Odyssey. Like I said, I think there's like 32 zones in the map without visiting like 15 of them.
Yeah,
and it's like I have no intention to go visit them because it's like I completed the story, quote unquote. Like that's good enough,
right?
Or I think I like visited some of them to like do the cult stuff because like the cult members like spread out on the map. But it's like there's no intrinsic value for me to like go to these new areas because I beat the game and I already like my character is max level. So
yeah, I mean there's that.
So I mean, maybe I mean if they made it more episodic, that might be interesting. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think these things are going to be at least 50 hours to complete, or to play through. And it's like, dear God, please stop.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree with you there.
It's kind of like giving you too much of a good thing, but it's like. I just don't want to eat cake constantly. Occasionally, have to stop, or
But there's also that thought of, well, this could lead to they make shorter versions, right? Like they make the big game, right, and then you get smaller. Like Randy was saying, smaller chunks. But then also, like this allows you to have different settings. So if you don't want the next whatever Valhalla, you get. The next like Syndicate, like whatever's going on, like let's say they did a continuation of one of the games. Like you did a continuation of Syndicate. Okay, well that one's not as big, it's smaller, but you have options, right? You're not just limited to whatever they decide to do for that one game.
Sure. I mean that would be a nice thought, but I don't think they're not capable of going smaller, it seems like.
Well, I mean, it seems like that's what they're wanting to go for. Is like let's have different settings because it seems like this is what they're saying.
Well, it's not going
to just be one; it's going to be several.
I mean, it's kind of like how Call of Duty has evolved over the years. Like, look at like Call of Duty 2 or even Call of Duty 4. Like the story of that game compared to like Black Ops 2 or Advanced Warfare. It's like the story in Modern Warfare 1 was somewhat believable and like somewhat. Kind of small scale in the grand scheme of things, but those games, like the fans demand like bigger story sequences and stories, so they just get overblown to be cartoon sized. And I mean, yes, I would like it if they returned to a smaller game, but I don't think a lot of the fan base would, even if they said like, oh, you're gonna, in this game you're gonna be in the you're gonna be in the desert again, or in this game you're gonna be in Moscow circa 1910. It would be nice.
I don't know. There seems to be a lot of people that do want the smaller.
Well, if that is the case, I mean, they should have been doing that for the past 2 games. Then they should have made those smaller, not gargantuan sized.
Well, I'm not saying that like everybody does, but it seems like there is that thought, like you had in your, like you've had. With these, them moving to this RPG of like, well, I kind of miss the old games.
See, Valhalla does kind of something interesting. There's like the main England area of that game, which is pretty large sized, but at least you have a reason to go to every area as part of the story. But that game has 3 additional side areas for you to go to. Actually, like 4 or 5. It is bananas. It's like, why do you have all of this dumb shit? Like, why do I have to go to like Midgard and like act as Odin? It's like this isn't like germane to the plot at all. You could easily cut this out and make this game 10 hours shorter, and it would be a better game. Like I reviewed that game. I didn't complete one of the main things because I didn't know it was like another story beat. I was like, oh, this Asgard stuff isn't important. I can just kind of skip over this. No, it's important. They didn't tell me that. Like, the game doesn't tell you that at all. And it easily adds like 15 hours to the gameplay. And it's like, you don't. Like, get an editor, please, for the love of God.
You're telling Ubisoft to get an editor. They don't really believe in that with Assassin's Creed. It seems like it's just let's make it as big as possible because we have to, because we want people to get the most they can out of this game.
I mean, I guess it's a somewhat noble cause, or not noble thing, but like, again, you have to go overboard.
No, you don't. But that's what they're trying to do. But I think like that's what is good about this is like this does allow them to have like smaller versions of Assassin's Creed.
How long was that Chicory game? Like 6 hours, 10 hours?
If you know what you're doing, you can finish it technically in like 3. If you don't know where you're going, then yeah, like 5.
Okay, let's say
6.
5. Would that game be better or worse if it was 50 hours long?
They don't have enough content for anywhere near. Like,
I mean, if they just kept repeating stuff, or just hey, here's a harder enemy, but you're still doing the same shit against it as before.
Yeah.
Here's like I don't know the enemies, but like let's say there's like a blue enemy. It's like, okay, here's the red variant, and it takes twice as long for you to kill. Like, would that make it a better game or a worse game? Probably a worse game.
See, this is what happens, Randy, when I try to actually go promote the show. This is what happens. I forget that there is a video playing. I thought I turned it off before I went to go do that. And I went to go like post on Twitter that we were live, and this happens. We're watching a Save the Skin commercial apparently. So sorry. But yeah, anyway, like what you're saying, Mark, this is going to be interesting. We don't know anything about what's going to wind up being Assassin's Creed Infinite. We just know what's been reported. Could there be a return to multiplayer even? Like, is there like a multiplayer that you would want to see? Obviously, Unity was not the best showcase for that as far as like
no, like Brotherhood had good multiplayer. Well, yeah. Unity was co-op, but it just had too much of it. Like Brotherhood and I think Revelations, they had like competitive. That was okay. It wasn't like the greatest thing, but for what it was interesting. But I don't need to see it return either. Yeah, like, that's the franchise that's really interesting because like they have invented so much gameplay stuff and then dumped it. Like, I can think of no other franchise that has actually done that, like to that scale.
What the heck? My computer decided to like glitch out for a second. Sorry.
Okay. But yeah.
Yeah, go for it. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh no, I said like I can like the multiplayer doesn't need to be there. It was fine in like Brotherhood, but like they have invented so much stuff for that game and then thrown it away that it's like really impressive.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. They've made so many of these, right? That like at some point you're gonna run into stuff where you've already done this, or it's crazy that they have like a formula, right? But they have somehow been able to still make all these different settings that you go to feel special in a way. So,
and every game typically has like, I would say like 5 gameplay systems that are different from like the last game.
Yeah, that's true too.
For good or for bad. I mean,
yeah. This is interesting just from like, okay, we've seen what Ubisoft can do with the live service.
Yeah, like
thing with some of the other games. Yeah.
Yeah, or that SWAT game or whatever the hell that is.
The Siege.
Yeah.
6 Siege. Yeah. So it's interesting from that perspective of just like,
but yeah. I don't need to see that in a primarily single player story based game.
No, you don't.
And it wouldn't do it good. I saw the trailer for that Watch Dogs Legion the Aiden Pierce thing, and my God, it looks hilarious.
Well, they did pick like the worst of the Watch Dogs.
Well, yeah, but they're adding in. They had to add in one of the better Watch Dogs 2 characters, the guy with the mask, to like counterbalance the awfulness of Aiden Pierce.
At least they figured it out. They could have just decided to just add Aiden Pierce and then nothing. So
yeah,
but hey, it is what it is with this. We're gonna learn a lot more because this is not even gonna come out till like 2024, I think. Jason Schreier was saying. So
I think it'll have to come out quicker because I don't have a ton of other franchises to rely on at the moment.
I wonder if that means they're gonna. Well, we know they're supporting Valhalla for.
Yeah, but that's not the same as like a whole new game, or it's not.
Yeah, I
mean, it's not like a watch. I mean, they can't make another Watch Dogs for a little while. I mean, they have Far Cry coming out soon, right? But it's not like They always have like an Assassin's Creed around Christmas or around Thanksgiving or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. So like there's a lot more speculation you could do with this, but and I don't know how long we're gonna spend on this because I have a certain thought process on this last story, and I feel like Mark has talked about this in the past as well, but once again, we're having this difficulty debate because Double Fine, and they did this on purpose. He obviously did this. Tim Schafer is a funny guy, right? And he does not have a problem with sometimes saying stuff to get attention. He knows what he's doing here. He comes out and puts out a tweet basically kind of like throwing shade at the people that have problems with difficulty for Psychonauts 2 and saying, I'm putting an invincibility mode in Psychonauts 2. What about it, people that have problems with adding difficulty modes in games? Like, and then he kind of makes fun of the people that like are always kind of like, oh, get good, all that stuff. I mean, so like, how do you feel about like adding stuff like this into a game?
Fine. Go for it. I think there should be. There should be trophies or achievements associated with like beating the game like regularly. But yeah, it's fine. Like, yeah.
I mean, obviously, I think like if you're playing this on the invincibility mode, or there's other games that I saw people the other day say that I haven't played a game on not easy mode for like 10 years because I don't have that kind of time to knock my head against the wall. And I think that's what this is for.
There are parts of Psychonauts 1 that are actually like really difficult. So
yeah. And I agree with that in that like you should be able to play a game the way you want. You paid your money or you paid your subscription in this case.
And it's going to be like it's a action game or a platformer game, but like it's gonna have a ton of humor and story. So if it's some little kid who just likes like how Raz is designed, he just kind of wants to like mash his way through it, like go for it, because he or she'll still pick up the story well enough, and then they'll see the game.
Yeah, that's the thing is like I don't really ever get the people that get so I get it from their perspective of okay, usually the fight is Dark Souls. Right, or whatever of like, okay, Dark Souls shouldn't have a difficulty mode, right? And like, they didn't intend it to be that way. So,
I mean, I don't really care what their intention is, to be honest with you. Like, it's whether or not I enjoy the game, and if I want to play the game on easy and have a giant lightsaber and can cut through anything, like who cares?
Right.
I will still derive some enjoyment out of the game. If I other than getting like the Drake sword, just match my way through that instead. Like,
I mean, I do think that we should be okay with if a game doesn't want to add a difficulty setting, right? But there should at least be accessibility options.
And I guess
for sure,
the important thing is they still get their money.
They don't care.
They definitely
get their money. Yeah, I mean, but obviously this creates. I mean, this is good marketing, from Tim
It's
Schafer
like
as well. But like,
they're kid centric,
yeah, and I mean, and this game
family
is,
centric.
even though it goes through it has some serious themes in it. It still has the facade and the cartoony look that will appeal to a younger audience, and then like letting them be able to just play through that game and experience the story, or people that just want to experience the next phase of cycle. Because, like, honestly, you've been waiting so long for Psychonauts. The last thing you want to do is be excited for this game, and you get to a point where you can't get past, and you get frustrated, right? Like, give people an option to, if I want to get past this and just keep experiencing Psychonauts 2, and then maybe I go back to normal mode.
Well, it's
cool,
like, Mario, like they've had like accessibility options of those games for the past few.
Yeah. What bothers me, I think, is more when you get locked into a difficulty. I hate I got locked into difficulty with, like, I get it. That's the whole point of trying to get you to understand that, okay, well, you picked this, so now you're stuck with it. But like, this is one of the things I didn't like about Kingdom Hearts was I got to the point where I was good enough for Kingdom Hearts where I could play most of the game on proud mode. But then you get to the point where, oh, this is really hard now, and I can't get past this point. It's like, man, it'd be nice to be able to shift back to normal mode just for this fight, and then I can go back to proud mode for like the regular enemies and all that stuff that are just really easy on normal. And it's like, that's what I don't like. When you lock me into a difficulty and I can't change it for the entire game, that's when I feel like you're being a bit unfair. Let me decide how I want to play. If you're going to have difficulty modes, make them available at any point in the game if I can't get past a certain point. And instead of being like, oh, well, now you're stuck and you got to repeat the whole game over just to get to this point again. Like, it's
they should add in a mode that's like, if you want to change your difficulty, pay us $1.
Imagine if that's even worse.
You got to want it, yeah.
So, yeah, I appreciate the whole you should play the game the way it was meant to be played and all that stuff. And, I understand that some games just that's not what they're meant for. But if they get added, I don't think it's the big travesty that people make it seem like, because it just gives people a different way to play.
If people are upset, I'd ask them, how many times do you die in the meat circus level in Psychonauts? Case closed.
Yeah, and I think also it's like, does it really hurt you to know?
Yeah, like, what does it impact? How does it impact you? If Yen's got pissed because I cheat in Dark Souls, be like, well, how does it impact you playing or your involvement?
Yeah,
it doesn't. Like,
no,
he or someone still gets their own pleasure from beating the game regularly, or pounding their head against like the dragon. It's like, good job. I didn't do that, and I still feel good about my life. Like,
right, yeah, and I got through this, and you can say what you want, like, oh, you're not a real gamer or whatever. Like, listen, let's start normalizing. It doesn't matter how you play. Let's let people play how they want. You're still a gamer regardless of what difficulty level you play on.
I'd respond with, here's my Persona 5 Platinum trophy. Where's yours?
Yeah, it's like you can have your feed of however you want with this, but I'm sorry, I should have brought on somebody that's super heavy into this. It's got to be this way or whatever. But even like, I don't know if you ever brought this up with Jens, but like, I think even Keith has said, like, look, if you want to add that for accessibility reasons, it's not a big deal. It doesn't bother me, but look, I can see it. If you're demanding it from the developer and they don't want to make it, that's a different thing. But if the developer decides, okay, you know what, we're finally going to give in on the next one. Let's say that Elden Ring, for some reason, had a difficulty setting. Does that automatically make all those other games pointless because now Elden Ring got a difficulty setting? No, it just means that it's a different setting. You don't have to play it on that.
Yeah.
If you don't want to. So, but I mean, this is a debate that everybody wants to have, I'm sure. And I'm sure many of you that are watching or listening later or watching later have your own thoughts on this. And you can comment there in the comment section of whatever place you're watching or listening to it on, or you can hit us up on Twitter at WTMSean. at Humanity Plague for Mark. Even Randy, he was in the chat at Randy Isbell. You can go bug him as well. Like I think we hit everything, right? Like did I miss one?
Mario sold.
Okay. Yeah, Mario sold. Mario had a 64, a Super Mario 64 sealed copy, sold for $1.56 million, which that's insane. It's the highest price anyone's ever spent on a video game at an auction, which had been broken. Was this like original version of Legend of Zelda?
Yeah, the NES one.
For $870,000. So that's a huge jump. That's like not double, but nearly double for that. So
a lot of people are speculating it's like money laundering. I'm not.
Yeah.
No, I'm not kidding. Because like, first of all, that game isn't that rare. Like,
right. No.
It's rare, like that it's unopened, but
like when they found that sealed copy of Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
That's rare.
Well, right? I was thinking more like, this was like last year, I think, when they sold that Nintendo PlayStation.
Yeah.
That was like $300,000 or something.
Yeah, and that's the guy, yeah, of course, because there's only so many of those. Like there's 2 or 3. Like that's only one. Right.
Yeah. It's like I would, if someone bought that for $1.5 billion, I can understand that. Like that's like incredibly rare thing that there's one of, or it sold for $360,000. But Mario 64, like no, there's copies out there. Like it's not.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, plus it got put on the. I mean, there's you can play that game in different ways, like. So it's weird.
It wasn't even that. I mean, yeah, you just want to have it collectible or something, but still, I mean, like. I think it was. I mean, this was years ago, but I know Jeff Gerstmann talked about. He had this incredibly rare TurboGrafx game,
right?
Called Magical Chase. That's like still sealed.
I remember him talking about that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like it's the box is kind of like a little dented or like crushed a little, but it's still perfectly fine. And he was thinking he'd get like $10,000 for it, maybe.
Right.
And it's like, believe me. That's way more rare than a Mario 64.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this is a scam, or if it's not like money laundering, it's some like cryptocurrency thing or something.
Possible.
Yeah. Wait until I put up my copy of the Bigs 2 for the Xbox 360, and that sells for $300,000.
Right. And speaking of selling well, Final Fantasy 14 sold so well that Square Enix ran out of digital copies. How does that happen? You run out of digital versions
because you only have like a certain amount of codes, and you have to generate more or get more.
Okay, obviously this is the PC version of Final Fantasy 14, and it's only on the Square Enix store. We're not talking about it in other places where you could technically buy this game. But on the Square Enix store, they ran out of stock because they had so many players on, and they also had just broken the concurrent player record on Steam as well for their own MMO, 47,000 players at once, which had beaten their previous record by like 6,000. So that's pretty amazing. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's what happens when Asmongold starts streaming your game.
Yeah, that helps a lot too. Of course, helps a lot. A lot. I wonder how many of those people realize that there's a subscription accompanied to that, or how many people are going to stop once they get past a free trial or whatever, and they don't play anymore.
Wait, I think you get 30 days for free.
Yeah,
bad.
And if you have a lot of time to dedicate to that, you could do some damage in that 30 days. Right.
Yeah, like that game seems to be like it's that game in particular it's a pretty well supported like live service game because look at how it launched, like a disaster, and then they took it down and fixed it up, and now it's probably some other like JRPG like Korean MMOs that are more popular, but that's probably the most popular MMO right now, at least like in America. because WoW sucks or WoW is not doing too well.
Yeah, I mean, like well, it's not, and it is the most popular. You know,
American or English or
like it is
non-Korean.
pretty much the most pretty much the most part. It is the most popular MMO right now. It's the one that has the most subscriptions. So, I mean, that's because also, like thinking about it, what was it? I'm part of the Outer Haven chat, and not everybody on the Outer Haven's playing it. So, like, because I think Carl is supposed to be doing some kind of preview for it or whatever, because he did the news on the most recent announcement, and then like everybody there is playing it now. So it's like crazy to see all these people playing Final Fantasy 14 at once. I just don't have the time for it, honestly. I want to because I love Final Fantasy so much. I just don't have the time to dedicate to paying for something that I will not be able to even put more than like an hour in like a day or something.
You cannot play an MMO.
Yeah, no. I'd have to be back in the times where
you're in college and you had 8 hours of free time a day.
Exactly that. Where you have way less responsibilities. Or you just don't do anything, but this is the game you play. And I mean,
that's what Admiral does. Yeah, they can only play like 1 or 2 games. Like it's either Final Fantasy or WoW, and that's it.
Yeah, it's crazy that that this is what you're getting to, and then it's good for them because you have like all these people getting excited about this game when you have the Endwalker thing about to come out. So there's a lot there for you. If
well, it's nice. There's actually some buzz about the game on like WoW, which is like dismal, and people are just depressed about it.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like they had Shadowlands come out, and you always have the hype, with that, when the new one comes out, and then it feels like even faster than the 4. You had people like just stop with it. So, I'm like, it's really cool just to see how much this has exploded and become this big thing for Square Enix, and it helps them have all these different. It helps add on another Final Fantasy platform that you can constantly be iterating on, and then you never know how many more new people you get into this game, and it's also cool that they're offering this free trial version as well. For you get all the way through Heaven's Word. I think it's up to level 60.
Yeah,
you get free, so that's pretty amazing too. That's a lot of levels to get through. To get to 60 there. So have fun with all of that, everyone. Again, I keep seeing it and I keep going, man, I want to play this, but I don't have the time. I wish I did. I'll just have to just watch story chronologies of it and live vicariously with people that have the time to get into that.
Let's watch the Moogle King raid boss fight. That's all you need.
There you go. I'll do that for sure. But I think now we have finally gotten through everything pretty much that we were going to talk about here. So just looking ahead. Oh well, I said we were going to do this. With Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD coming out this week. That's the big game that comes out this week. I'm not a very literally Chicory was the first Zelda game that I had finished. I never really it would frustrate me when I was younger, and even I think throughout my high school years when I would go in college, when I would try to go back and play, I just didn't want to sit there with a guide and go through and make sure I'm going through the right places and all that stuff. So it would just frustrate me and I stopped playing. I can appreciate Zelda as a series, and I appreciate all the great games that have come I don't know if it'll be Breath of the Wild 2, but maybe one of these days I'll go through now that I really enjoyed Chicory, because there pretty much is like one of those 2D Zelda games. And going back and be playing something like that. But like, what are somebody that's played more of the Zeldas? What are some of your favorite Zelda games?
Yeah, I did top 5. I said number 5 is Cadence of Hyrule.
Okay.
That was a really cool one. It had really great music. I mean, it's
Right.
like half Zelda, half rhythm game, but
Right.
it's still really good.
That's still a good Zelda game, yeah.
Yeah, I said number 4, Majora's Mask.
Okay. There's a lot of people's favorites as well. Yeah. I love that Majora's Mask.
It's a little wonky, and it has like a really weird, structure to it, but it works pretty well if you get used to it. And I would say that's the one you actually do need to follow a guide, because there's a bunch of time shit in that game.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, oh, you need to get the mailman on day 2 between 7 and 9, and it's like, if you don't know that, you're screwed.
Yeah.
I'd say number 3 is Minish Cap. That was a GBA one. That was done by Capcom also. That was weird, but that's a really great game.
Yeah.
If they ever did like I haven't played every Zelda game, so I'm sure the anime one, the GameCube one,
Wind Waker,
yeah, like I'm sure that's up there. I just haven't played it, so I can't.
Because stuck onto the Switch, and maybe that's your moment.
Yeah, I know they made that HD version, but they don't seem too keen on porting those old, like even the HD versions over to the Switch.
I wouldn't be surprised. I still have faith of what Jeff Grubb said, that maybe we'll see those when they do bring out Breath of the Wild 2.
Like I said, they can put most of those games on like one collection and it'd be fine,
Yeah. But they really did do that with Mario. They could have done with Mario too, but they just did it with the 3D ones. So.
For number 2, I said Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I mean, that's like the seminal 3D one.
GOAT for so many people for Breath of the Wild. So.
And number 1, I said Link to the Past.
Okay, yeah, that's another one that's very beloved, the Super Nintendo one.
Right.
So.
See, the 2 not in my list because I actually didn't like Breath of the Wild that much personally.
Yeah, right. We've both been down that road with that.
Yeah. And the other one I didn't. The one that actually broke me on Zelda for quite a long time was Twilight Princess.
That's interesting because a lot of people did like Twilight Princess as well.
I beat that game, but the only things I remember about that game is I thought it stole like the wolf thing from Okami.
Right.
B, like I know people complain about the intro to Sky or whatever the one coming out soon is, Skyward Sword.
Yeah.
But like Twilight Princess had a long ass intro too. Like it's not like it took I'd take at least 2 to 3 hours for you to
Well, it was more frustrating with Skyward Sword because you had to stay in there with the because when I played Twilight Princess, I still played it on the GameCube.
I think I played that one too, but it's like, okay, now you have to stop this bull from running into town. It's like, what is this dumb shit? Like, give me a sword and let me get going. Come on.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's like the only thing I remember about Twilight Princess. It's like it took a while, the bull stopping, and like that was like a boss fight at some point also. Yeah. And then just like this seems really derivative of Okami and not in a good way.
Yeah. That's true.
I had the thought about that game, like, would this wolf link thing be in here if Okami didn't exist? And I thought
probably not.
No, yeah, exactly. Like, and I thought,
but hey, at least Okami got to live on in that because so like they got to make a second one.
Well, it's like I mean, if you're talking about like Zelda-like games, I would say like Okami.
Oh yeah, so Okami was
very
great.
much the Zelda game.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
I just love the fact that you played as a wolf and he had all these cool powers and
you get to PN enemies.
Yep. Well,
but like it's
and
funny
the colors and everything else too.
You don't like, or even played like a Zelda game, but you've played Okami, which is like double or triple the length of any Zelda game ever. Like,
yeah, I know I got at least halfway in that game, and then I stopped eventually.
Yeah,
but
Okami is really not a short game.
Like, it was not. I remember that. Like it was
like that intro town area that like takes like 10 hours for you to get through.
Mm-hmm. I do remember that. I was like, God, do you ever get out of this freaking town? Like,
yeah.
So
but that was a good game. Oh, did you watch Black Widow?
I have not watched Black Widow. No, I actually have a. I'm gonna see if maybe I'll watch it with the girlfriend tomorrow, or I just might watch it with Anaya.
Yeah,
I have somebody sent me they bought it and they sent me a download or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
So even though I really was thinking about if we were going to go to the movie, I might just do the Disney Plus because we're going to spend that much.
Yeah.
Anyway, going to the movie theater. So
I watched it at home, but I'll probably go to the theater and watch it again. Like, why not? Also, my theater's really cheap, so that helps.
That does help. I've heard some decent things.
It's fine. It's not like the greatest movie ever made, but it's perfectly good and good music. There's the intro of that movie is very disturbing though.
I've heard the secret scene is apparently cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So,
yep. But
and I have now. I think I got to episode 3 of Loki, and it's kind of slow.
Okay,
so I didn't.
It gets way better, trust me.
Okay, it gets better. Okay, I'll have to go and finish watching it. I got hooked on the Euros, soccer, which I know you don't care about, and it just ended. So now I'm kind of got some. I don't really got free time, but
now I can start watching Ted Lasso.
Yeah, now the Gold Cup is on. I really only care about whenever the U.S. plays for that, especially in the opening rounds. So I'll have more free time to watch other things again. So going to games that are coming out this week, like I said, the big one is an old game, Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD, which now you can play on the Switch and not play. You don't have to play with motion controls. You can play it with button controls if you want. There's that. There's also the F1 game for this year, which you can play if you'd like.
Can't wait to review it.
As well. I don't think we're going to get a code for that. So unless you get sent one, let me know. And the game that I'm excited to play is going to be on Game Pass day one, Chris Tales, which is an RPG, a turn-based RPG with an anime look to it. So I will be excited to play that when it comes out. And that's actually, I think, we'll be recording the show when that game comes out. So I wanted to go ahead and mention it, and also that Akiba's Trip, Hellbound, the next version of the Akiba game, is coming out, which that really appeals to a certain audience. And if you like that stuff, then go for it. But man, it's crazy. Yeah,
Megan's Law.
It's crazy how some of these games come out and they look like they should be on a PS2, but they're on PS4.
Yeah.
So, and not throwing shade, but just seriously. Whatever. But that's the aesthetic for those games, and if that's what you go for, then cool. That's you, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of what's out there this week. I know a lot of there's people that are down on the fact that this is the offering for Zelda is the Skyward Sword HD, but I have a feeling that you're going to see a lot of people that maybe are playing it again, that maybe perhaps didn't like it on the Wii.
Or maybe didn't play it in the first place because that was a late Wii U game, and that wasn't a popular system to begin with. So
exactly, I think you're going to see a lot of that too. You're going to see a lot of people that played it or didn't play it at all, and now they're playing it for the first time, and they're getting to enjoy it. So we'll see how that story unfolds, what the reviews are, and everything for that, and we get into talking about next week. It's July, and the EA is doing their indie thing today, technically, so you can watch that. And by the next time that we come on, they'll have done the Madden one, but we won't be able to talk about the reason why we had that EA Sports favorites last week, because technically it's the 20th, the day that will have the show already released. So sorry there, but hopefully it is something cool. I really would hate for it to just be a mode in some game that they already have, but wouldn't be surprising either. It's EA. So
Yep.
Get ready to be disappointed a lot of times. So, all right, but until we're here again, you can again check us out on the YouTube channel, W2M Network's YouTube channel, and of course you can check out all the stuff that Mark Rowless is doing. He's gonna have a Black Widow review, so if you want to hear their thoughts on Black Widow and watch him just like you're watching us, you'll be able to watch him as well. And thank you to Randy for being along in the chat. You can listen to his thoughts with Jens on Final Fantasy Spirits Within. And it's interesting because you get the two juxtapositions of Randy liking it and getting to talk about what he liked, and Jens not liking it and talking about what he hated about that movie. And, of course, they'll also have a gaming one the next time they record the show, which unless Randy wants to pop in the chat before I get off here and tell me what it is, you'll just have to find out. And, of course, go check out Kickoff, Black Irish, all the other shows on the W2M Network, which you can just subscribe to this channel. You get everything, ring that bell, or you can just go on your favorite podcast service. We're pretty much on everything. I can't think of something we're not on at this point. And just subscribe there on W2M Network. So, yeah. Thank you for listening, everyone, or watching, and we'll see you next time. Later, everyone.
Later.